morning, Port Jervis. Welcome to the Port Connects Where Are They Now Alumni Spotlight Podcast. And I'm proud, I'm excited, and I'm really happy for him. Today's guest, Harry Tomasi, class of 2019. Harry, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Welcome back to Port Jervis, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's been like 6 years now.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming on. If you are watching the show live, jump in the chat box, say hello. Let us know if you're an alum or a local Port Jervian here. But Harry, it's great to see you, and thanks for doing this. Harry, let's get started. What was your experience in Port Jervis? Class of 19. You were right before the pandemic. You were the year before the pandemic. How was your overall experience?
It was good. It was good. So my family moved here when I was 5, so I did all my education here at Port. Didn't miss a beat on that.
From where, Harry? Where did they move from?
So we were from Brooklyn. So we moved up here from Brooklyn.
Nice.
Came up here to Port. And yeah, we were here. I did ASK. So I was at ASK for the 6 years. That was 6 years. That was 7. That was good. Then we did the middle school, which is, as we were discussing before, is not the middle school anymore. It's very different now, which is cool to see that new kids are going to go into a new building. And then we did the high school where I was under you. It was different experiences along the way. Some good, some bad, because you're a kid, you're growing up. That's how things are. But it was always good in the end. So it turned out right.
What were some things that really stood out to you, Harry, that you remember like, oh my God, that was great?
Some things from high school. I remember the pep rallies being like a whole lot. And I remember doing the setups for the pep rallies and whatever. We only won the senior year because the class before us was really, really good. And they kept kicking our butts. And we showed up senior year and we won that. That was a big deal. Let me think here. I remember graduation. I thought that graduation would be so much longer of a moment. And then it was done. And it was like, oh, well, we're done now. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, the music's playing. Everyone threw their caps. It's over. So yeah, I remember those two things standing out. I was like, man, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not only the ceremony go quick, the 4 years, like you look back now and it goes quick.
Yep.
Well, Harry was a great student athlete. And I asked Harry on the program here, a week from today, right now, Harry's going to be running the Boston Marathon. Congratulations there, Harry. That's a huge deal. So proud of you. And I know you're going to do tremendous. So back to school, you ran. You were a track person, which brought you then to Cortland. What did the athletics mean to you then? And was it something you knew then? You loved it? I mean, I remember I'd be sitting in my office at the high school. It was 100 degrees out, and here you are running, by the front of the school. It was like Forrest Gump. Everywhere I looked, I saw you running. But it led to, all of these great things for you, including the marathon. So what did the athletics mean to you back then?
I think you're not the only person in Port Jervis that had that opinion of me running all over the place at all times a day. It was something that I got into when I was younger. And I wasn't necessarily the best, most coordinated athlete in some other sports. Baseball is my favorite sport, but I'm not a good enough baseball player to play baseball for anybody. So I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran. And I got kind of good at it compared to other people. But I had to work really hard in middle school and high school. And I was never the most talented athlete on the team or whatever else. Wasn't the most talented one in college either. But it was something where if I worked harder, I got out more. So it's as hard as you wanted to work, you got back. And I was willing to work as hard as it took to get to where I wanted to go. That didn't mean that it always turned out right. I probably could have ran a little faster, done a little better here and there. But I value the control of my own destiny based on where I put in. If I didn't do any work, it wasn't going to go well. That was a lot of other sports. You can't, like in basketball, sometimes if you play a bad team, you can still be a really good player, even if you didn't put the proper work in. You know what I mean? And that's not like a snub at basketball. It's just saying you can't cheat running. If you didn't do the work, you're not going to turn out okay. So
I love what you just said there. The value of controlling my own destiny. That's powerful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Harry, where do you think that work ethic comes from?
Probably, well, it has to start at home somewhere, doesn't it? The psychology background in me says it has to start at home. Yeah, you just you have to get up every day. You have to go to work. You have to do what you're doing. That's kind of it. You
Yeah.
have to show up. So good things happen to people who are in the classroom.
You modeled that again. Always saw you running, including into your senior year. You made wherever the playoffs, the finals,
Yeah,
wherever, and it was on the day of the prom, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And we were so happy for you, but it was like, but
yeah,
luckily it was in Middletown, and luckily you finished it. You were like Superman, and you threw your
So
tie on and came over.
so we had it the next day because so it was a 2-day event. But
Okay.
shout out to Christian Deal, who lives in Boston, and I might see him at the marathon.
Oh, he better be there.
Christian Deal did have to shower in the middle school, in the high school bathroom and then go to prom. Like he had to do that swap. So shout out to Christian because he had to do that.
Yeah, cool. If you're watching the show live, jump in, say hello, and again, celebrate our alumni, our student athletes. So Harry, all these experiences brought you to Cortland. Tell me about that decision. Why did you pick Cortland?
I took a unique approach to applying to colleges, which was a very slow process. I took my time with it. And as a result, I only had a couple of schools to choose from. And so Cortland was the one that I wanted to go to all along anyway. And I had to wait till like June, which if you know college commitment, that is not when you want to be finding out if you're going to a college or not.
Wow.
And so I found out in June that I was going to Cortland, was absolutely buzzing because they have the best sports management program in New York, hands down. And so I went to Cortland for sports management, and I emailed the coach on a flim of saying, hey, I can run cross country too. Because I was an okay runner in high school. I didn't have any PRs that for a college coach would be like, oh, this is really good. And the assistant coach got back to me and she said, yeah, come on down, run. And so that's how I ended up in Cortland,
Wow.
Yeah.
And was like you were saying, oh my God, I definitely want to run it? Was kind of like, if they take me, I'll do it. If not.
It was definitely I wanted to run it, but I had never spoken to a college coach before.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what college looked like. I didn't know if I was up to snuff to even stand on the team. You know what I mean? So I didn't know. So, but they, the assistant coach said, sure, come in. And, that was that. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience there. You wound up becoming captain of the team. Again, you were a psychology major, as well as a sports management minor. You ran not only cross country, you did track and field as well.
Track and field too. Yep.
So all year, you were going all year.
All year. So
Wow.
we got two.
How was your experience at national champion football, Cortland Dragons?
Well, let me say I did not help the football team. I did watch the game, and it was it was on ESPN, so I did get to see the games. Yeah, it was. Well, we were that, as you alluded to before. I had the pre-COVID semester in 2019, and then 2020 starts. COVID happens, so for a year and a half, we had for a year there was no college athletics, and then in the spring of 21. We had kind of college athletics, but you had to have the mask on before the starting line and you had to pull it down and you had to put it on as soon as you were done. And it was just a weird time. So it wasn't until 22 that I actually got a real college season. But that was good because I came into 19 and my coach used to email me. The coaches would email me the training out and said, 40, 50 miles a week. And I looked at that and I said, 40, 50 miles a week. I ran 15 miles a week in high school. I didn't have them. And so I was not adequately prepared. And so 19 was really difficult, that cross country season. COVID happens. And I said, either you're making it or you're breaking it. Either you're not doing this because you're wasting your time and you're not being good at this, or I am good enough to be here and I need to work. And so that entire COVID year, I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked, running to Sparrow Bush and out to the YMCA and all over the place. And I came back in 22 and I was pretty good then. So,
wow. Yeah. And I know your parents, a shout out to your parents, Peter and Nolene Tomasi, very involved in the school. But I always saw your dad with the cool sunglasses, the hair. I always saw him running. How much did your father push you in the running, or was it was inside and you said, I'm going to do it? Was he pushing you to do it? Tell me about that. When
I was, it's got to be 8, 9 years old. he started taking me for runs, and we'd run from my house on the one side of Port Jervis. We'd run over to Laurel Grove and then back. And it was a big day for me as a 9-year-old when I got to go through Laurel Grove. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's beautiful there.
Exactly. So, yeah, it was, and then we got to middle school and I started to run a little bit. But it was never like I don't think, at least consciously, it wasn't like a rewarding thing where it was like I was getting pushed by them to go do it. You know, like you can see the New York City marathons on this side of me here. They've done them. You know, they didn't need to go tell me to do them. They did them themselves.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so yeah.
Wow. So what does it feel like for you now? You ran in high school, you did well in college. You know, you're a real runner. Like you look at your body, you're like, wow, this guy's in great shape.
Yeah.
You know, you're a week away from the Boston Marathon. What are you feeling?
I am in control, I would say, is the word I'm going to use on that. I'm looking forward to being over, you know, but I am in control of it. You know, it took a lot of years of working really hard and doing things to get to this point. And, you know, there are races past this point, I am sure. And so I am in control of, I got me here. So whether I go out and I run an hour, which isn't physically possible, or 5 hours, which is probably also not physically possible for me, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to enjoy it, and, you know, just kind of soak it in. It's the Boston Marathon.
And Harry, like, there's so many factors. The weather, we were talking off air, that, you know, but what is the 2 or 3 things that you're like, oh yeah, the hydration, the shoes, the my shirt, like what are the things that you are gonna like, I gotta make sure you know, worried about falling, like what are those things?
I think that using the bathroom beforehand, because I had to the last time the first marathon, the only marathon I ran to qualify for this, because you have to qualify for the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
So big deal. I had to use the bathroom during the race.
Uh-huh.
So that was something. And yeah, I would say, so that, making sure I'm good to go. Water, because if you think it's really easy to go and pick up a water cup and drink it during a race, you're wrong. And if you think it's really easy to do it mile 22 of a race, you're definitely wrong. So definitely that, and not going out too fast. It's a race of 30,000 people. I'm in the first flight, so the crowd is going to be
wow.
And you know, everyone's going to be buzzing because it's the first time you're seeing people. So I don't want to get swept up into that and have my first 5 miles be like 6:15 pace and be like, oh, that was silly, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So yeah, try and keep it controlled.
And how do you are you looking at the watch? How are you doing that? How do you control if the momentum of the race is pulling you forward at a faster pace?
So and you'll feel it too. It's like electricity. Like you feel it when you like really get into that runner's high kind of motion. You physically have to, for me, I like lean back. It's like you're running down a hill. You lean back and you're taking that pressure off yourself. You need to chill out. So, but you don't look at the watch. For me, looking at the watch is taboo. You don't look at the watch.
Oh, wow.
Because if you're looking at the watch, you're counting how many you have to go. You know what I mean? That ain't good. You're in a good spot. So,
wow. Mm-hmm. Well, again, if you're watching the show live, a number of people watching, jump in and say hello. Harry, let's take it back to your time at Port Jervis schools. Who are some people, staff or students, that really had a deep impact on you, someone that really affected you in a positive way, that still, you know, had an impact on you? Who are some people that were there for you?
I'd say both of my coaches, all of my coaches. So Bob Dorn, who was there for my first 2 years of cross country, Coach Leroy, who was there for my last 2 years of cross country, John Wright was there, Mike Sosnick, all really awesome guys. They were great. Let's see here, from a teacher standpoint, Dev Casera. I was not a good math student, and Dev Casera really made me work. You know, you got to work at some things you don't like too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She loved those. I mean, she loved all of her students, but she loved the kids that wanted to work. Maybe they weren't a star mathematically, but people like you, if you were willing to do the work and could take her, you know, what's the right word? Toughness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she kept you coming.
I used to go in. So junior year, I would go in. I guess that would have been pre-calc. I went in junior year, and went in at like What time did school start back then? So
That was opening the door at 6.
Yeah, so I would go in with her for 40 minutes before the start of school. So I'd
Wow.
walk there at like 5:30 in the morning, so I could
Wow.
do 40 extra minutes with her, so I could get the math down. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Harry, I love your humility. I wasn't the best athlete. I wasn't the best, but I worked really hard. It's very, very, inspiring to hear that. What would you tell a kid if they're watching this in a classroom or a coach shows them this podcast? What would you tell a kid here in Port Jervis who maybe isn't the best athlete but wants to play in college? What advice would you give them?
Well, first off, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Just because you didn't pick up the baseball and throw 100 miles an hour doesn't mean you still can't go and do things with the ball. You know what I mean? You gotta take it day by day. You have to understand what you're doing on the day. You have to work on it for the day. And you let tomorrow be tomorrow. As an athlete, I had difficulty I looked forward too often. It was always, I ran this today, but I could have ran faster. I have to do that next week. And I didn't enjoy the moment in the moment. So enjoy your moments, work hard, and then work harder than you were working before. Because if you're the hardest working person in the gym, you should still be working harder. There should always, I used to have in my mindset, Cornwall was a big rival for us at the time in high school. So I'll use Cornwall. College was different teams. I had an image of a certain Cornwall athlete that will not be named, and used to kick my butt all the time in the 800. And every time we were running, I would always imagine that guy. And I said, I can go another rep. That guy's going another rep. I can go 2 more reps. That guy's lifting, I don't know. I was high school, so probably like 5 pounds. I can lift 10 pounds. Like, it was always work. Have exactly who you want to be and why you want to do it in your mind, and keep on going. You know what I mean? Like, keep doing it. So
that's great advice there, Harry. And what was something, maybe a skill, something somebody told you learned during your time at Port that you used at Cortland to help you, survive and thrive through college, make it through college? What were some skills that you took with you that were helpful?
Well, high school teaches you time management. So I'll say that the Port Jervis staff in general, you teach time management. I didn't go to Cortland. I went to Cortland, and I was surprised at how much free time you have in college. Now, my athletics balance that out, but there's a lot of free time in college, you know what I mean? And that's documented. I don't think that there's any, freshman year, I remember Mike Sosnick, again, not a good math student. And so I got help from
Mike was a math teacher.
Yeah. So he would come in, and I would go and do math with Sosnick. This was freshman year. Yeah, it would have been freshman year. And he would sit down with me to do work, and I couldn't get the numbers, and it didn't make sense in my head. And he knew I was a big Met fan. He's also a big Met fan, so shout out the Mets. And they had just gone to the World Series. Mets. He would try and help me, and he was like, "Look at it. This is like a team ERA, or this is like a team batting average, or this is like a lineup." And he would use it in a sports context, and it made more sense to me that way. So in that sense, if you parlay it over, if something is difficult, make it easier. Make it more relatable to you. Make it more simpler in your mind, and it won't be so hard.
Wow. Another great quote there. If something, make it easier. I love it, Harry. Great advice here on the show. Harry, anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I had a lot of good memories at Port Jervis High School. I appreciate everyone for the good, bad, and different, the time that was spent there. It's still time. It's funny. My mother was wearing the shirt. You remember those blue shirts that you have with the koi pond when we dug the koi pond?
Oh, yeah.
I saw that the other day. It was like, oh my gosh, that's got to be like 8 years now. That's crazy.
Your mom was rocking it?
Yeah. She's still, it's too small for me. So, but she was still wearing it. So,
nice.
It's funny what comes back to you, the things where you look at it and you're like, koi pond, how about that? Just totally forgot that. So, yeah.
Harry, you were always very involved, and maybe it was your parents early on making you do it. But I have 1,000 memories from Port Jervis, and our superintendent, Dr. John Bell, he remembers everything and everyone. Kelly Decker too. They have an amazing memory. Mine, not so much. It's a little blurry, But I remember you coming up. I think you might have been in 6th grade or 7th grade. And you did the Burger Bash, and you got up there at the school board meeting, and it was like this, wow. And I remember, like, it was the biggest selling burger bash ever. They raised a bunch of money, and like I was like, this kid is something. You just got up there so bold and sounded so confident. But then you were always involved, including the koi pond. What was it that made you want to be so involved in school, in activities, in volunteering?
It's those things are good for, I think some people do those kind of things for resumes, and they do those things but for a National Honor Society, or they do it for a college or anything like that. The Burger Bash was for Deliciana Wright, who was a student that passed away here. She passed away on the ASK fields, which are now being torn up, which is a little conflicting for me. But her bench is still out there right over there. So you can see, I visit it every summer. So that was about her. And that wasn't, we set up a scholarship for her, and that scholarship helped kids go to college. So it wasn't really about me. The koi pond was about giving back to poor jurors. That wasn't really about me. So I wouldn't say that I was involved. I probably was involved because I was made to be involved up till a certain age. But I wouldn't say that I was involved for the wrong reasons. You have to be involved for the right reasons. You have to be involved for other people, about doing good, about giving back to people. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. Yeah. So yeah, if I was involved for me and for a resume, it wouldn't have been nearly as enjoyable or easy as willing to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well said. Harry, you've graduated last year. You're back here in Port. You're working at Children Safe Stay Now, psychology major, sports management minor. You're running your first marathon. Where do you see yourself landing here in the next couple of years? Do you see yourself staying in Port? Is there a job somewhere you're looking at? Where do you see yourself that you're going to land?
It's you asked me this on the pre-show, and I didn't have an answer. And I think my answer that I give you today would be different than the answer I give you in a year or in 5 years or whatever. And that's life, and that's fine. I think that my goal right now is I got a psychology degree because I wanted to get back to other people. I wanted to do something in my life that was working with people and fulfilling. I have a couple of careers in mind, of master's programs that I think that'll get that done and, really be fulfilling in life. But I think, when it comes down to it, I want to work with people. I don't want to be sitting in a cubicle crunching numbers, as we've established. I shouldn't be doing the numbers anyway. Working a 9 to 5, sitting in a cubicle in Manhattan somewhere. I want to be out. I want to be working with people. Hopefully some fresh air would be nice somewhere along the way. That sounds like a pretty good gig to me.
Harry, the class of 24 is just 2 months away from where you were some years ago, graduating. What advice would you give to those seniors here in the spring of their senior year?
Remember your prom, because I genuinely don't remember any of it, and that's not
running. You were track event,
and that weekend was just such a blur. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's prom, it's silly, I have to dress up, whatever. So take pictures, do those kind of things. You know what I mean? Have your moments like that. Let your parents have their moments too, because as my parents say, not everybody goes to college. Not everybody goes to that next step. So for a lot of people, high school is a big stepping point for families. And that's a big reason to go and celebrate all the work that, they put in for you to get there, yourself, for your teachers and your whatever's to get you there. So yeah, don't wish it away. If you're wishing it away, it's going to come quicker than you realize. And then you're not going to be able to go back to it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Harry, you dropped a lot of good lines here, man. Really, really good. I don't want to miss your brothers here, Liam and Andrew. Great kids in their own right there, away at college, Oneonta and Buffalo. But your family was heavily involved in school, at all the events. Again, your parents, Peter and Nolene, shout out, always supporting the school, working hard for the best for the community. I remember your dad advocating for the train station, the renovation, and all of those things. So a lot of good stuff from the Tomasi family. Harry, the marathon's a week away. When you cross that finish line, your arms are in the air. What's the message you want? You're telling your heart. You're telling yourself. What's the message you want to tell yourself in that moment?
I think the message that I look for when you finish a race is it was worth it. And I don't mean that in the sense of you ran the time that you wanted or you got the place that you wanted. I had friends thinking my friends aren't the biggest runners. And so there were people that thought that I was going to take top 1,000 in the Boston Marathon, which just isn't going to happen. So let me just come out on this podcast and say that isn't happening. Please don't expect me to be like number 50 in the Boston Marathon. It isn't happening. I want to be done with it, and I just want to be happy. I'm going to be happy it's over. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I've just ran 26.2 miles. I'd like to, see my girlfriend, see my family, and then probably go rest. That would be it. But be happy that it's over. Be happy that it happened, and just enjoy in that moment. So yeah. I'm gonna turn my headphones. So I listen to music when I run. Nice. I'm gonna make an active effort and turn my headphones off the last 3 miles because as you get closer to the end, it's gonna get louder and louder and louder. And it's important that I listen to those and I hear that, because I don't know if I'm coming back. I certainly can, but you never know with life. And so I'm going to watch and I'm going to listen and I'm going to enjoy that moment. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people around me that this is very emotional for too. And it's a big deal. And so yeah.
Well, good luck, Harry. Next Monday, the 15th, running the Boston Marathon. Harry, I'm a Mets fan too. I was 11 years old in '86. Don't wear your Mets gear in Boston. You're still not happy with us, okay?
So for the Buffalo Marathon, I wore a pair of Pete Alonso socks that I am breaking out again. So those are coming back. My plan is, if you move fast enough, they won't see you. Yeah. And my girlfriend's family are Red Sox fans, so I think that they've let it go. I think the beef is squashed on that. I did want to wear New York Jets stuff. I want to wear an Aaron Rodgers shirt in the Buffalo Marathon in Buffalo and stick it to the Bills fans. And well, let's just say I'm glad I didn't do that. Next year's our year. So,
okay. All right. Well, Harry, thanks for a few minutes here to our community. Again, what a great representation of Port Pride here on Port Connects, the alumni podcast. Harry, the goal of these alumni podcasts are to celebrate the great things that our alumni are doing, but also a connection. We want to build a network of Port Jervis alum where our current students can tap into them. And I know you'll be someone that we can rely on to help our current students. And we wish you the best next Monday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. You stay on the line. We're going to sign off here on the podcast. Leave Harry a good luck comment. Leave Harry a comment here in the chat. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. The eclipse today. Be careful. Make sure you put your glasses on and enjoy it all. Harry, thanks so much, my friend.
No problem. Don't look at the sun.
Yeah. Stay on the line. We're going to sign off, everybody. Continue to show your Port pride. Harry, can you end us with a go Port?
Yeah. You want the 2 claps too?
Sure, man. Let's do it.
All right. Go Port.